by reading the roll call. And Paul, it looks like we have everyone except Richard Bedford and Paul Booth.
Yes, but I have noted the exceptions, and we can take a motion to excuse Mr. Booth and Mr. Bedford.
Somebody make that motion, please.
A motion to excuse Mr. Paul Booth and Mr. Richard Bedford.
Second,
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Was that you, Trevina?
That was Eddie.
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 Oh, okay. Thank you, Eddie. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, commissioners. Okay, we're going to do the minutes. I would ask if anybody of the commissioners has found any errors or things that need changed in the minutes. They were fairly short, so you should have got an opportunity to read them. Paul, it looked like everything was okay to me in the minutes. And unlike normal, I didn't have any questions on any of the things that we may have forgot about since the last meeting. So unless someone has a correction or amendment, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as printed.
So moved.
So moved by Eddie Miners. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 The minutes have been accepted as written. The chairman's report, you folks might want to think about. I'm going to defer my report until after new business tonight. I was going to talk about COVID vaccine availability, but we're going to defer that. And we're going to enter into Ms. Stinson from, hold on a second. I lost my page. Ms. Stinson, I wanted to say the name of your company is Style. And I lost my paper.
That's okay. I remember the name.
Ms. Stinson will give us a presentation regarding our development of Forest Park. So, Ms. Stinson, you can have the floor.
Thank you, Ed.
Tamia, before you start, I just want to let everyone know, we had talked a little bit about this at our November meeting. And we
Okay.
decided to hold off until we had more people here to kind of review this proposal.
Got it.
We've been talking about doing some community marketing and rebranding, specifically for our economic development program. Ms. Stinson had actually been working with one of our local businesses and volunteered to come forward with a proposal. So that's what we're sharing tonight. And I want to thank Tamia for taking the initiative and stepping forward. It's always nice when someone takes an interest in their community like that. So Tamia, I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, thanks, Paul. I appreciate that. That means a lot. As does you guys, letting me hop on here and interrupt your meeting. So I'm Tamia Stinson. I am a Forest Park native. I grew up in the H section. And I graduated from Winton Woods High School back in we won't get into specifics there. So I have a degree in marketing, and I've primarily worked in the marketing and publishing industries for most of my career. Most of my background is in marketing, design, project management, some journalism. A couple of years ago, I won a $100,000 Hale Fellowship to start an organization called Tether, which is a community resource for local image makers. So photographers, video directors, other people in the media industries who produce photo and video shoots. And that you can find that at tethercincy.com. And I often call on that network to work on other projects that I'm doing through my own organization. So that's just a little bit of background about me. I still visit Forest Park pretty regularly as my father lives in the sea. So, just having the opportunity to potentially work with a place that is so much a part of who I am and how I grew up is really meaningful. So thank you guys again for having me. Now, you mentioned that the proposal has previously been shared. So I'm kind of looking at this as an opportunity to just kind of clarify some things that are there. And, you all can shoot questions at me if you have any, based on either what you read before or what we talk about tonight. Does that sound good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, do you guys know if I'm able to share my screen? Is that an option available to me?
Tony, are you listening?
Yes,
I
sir.
see it's in green down here. So I'm assuming,
Miss Stinson's asking, is there a way she can share her screen? So,
Yes, sure is. Let me
Okay.
find it real quick. Okay, you should be able to do that.
what does she have to do on her monitor?
I
She
see it
needs
here.
to go to the share screen in green at the bottom. And
Share.
there you go.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, so it looks like based on my Zoom setup, everybody can see what's on the screen here. So again, just kind of wanted to go over what was in the proposal, which it sounds like you guys have already seen. But thought it would be a good opportunity to clarify some things and again, let you guys ask questions. So this is a little bit of my background. Pay no attention to the photo. That's several years old, but that's one of the few good photos I took ever in my life. So because my background is in marketing and I was previously a style editor for Cincinnati Magazine and have worked with a lot of people in the creative industries, I'm very big in the value of creators and entrepreneurs and their ideas. I'm also very big on strategic thinking and sort of incorporating that into every step of the process so that everything has a purpose. I'm very curious and like to explore and talk to people and figure out what they're doing. When I was with Cincinnati Magazine, one of my main tasks was to go around to different shops and figure out what we should put in the magazine. And I was very surprised to learn that my favorite part of the job was talking to local business owners. I loved it, just figuring out what was working for them, what wasn't working for them, how we could potentially help them promote themselves and their businesses. So that's sort of always been a sticking point for me because I feel like those are my people. I also am very big on community, which is part of the reason I created Tether. So the idea of having other people to collaborate and commiserate with as needed. I find that people really need that. If 2020 taught us anything, is that people's relationships with one another are extremely valuable. And then I'm also big on the idea that together, working together, we can take everybody, our people, our brands, our culture, everybody collectively to the next level. And I try to bring that philosophy to all the projects that I'm working on. Paul asked me to put together something regarding contractor development. I believe there had been some talk about, Forest Park's entrepreneurial community having some sort of shared workspace. I've been part of so many co-working spaces, which I honestly truly miss since the pandemic started. But I have also seen the value in the connections that people form in those types of spaces. And again, that's sort of the reason I created Tether Cincy, was for to make sure that people had an opportunity to connect with each other and form those relationships and work on those sort of collaborative opportunities together, because I've seen how important that is in people's career and personal development, if we're being honest. So one of the things that I did with Tether was created a directory. And that is basically a gallery listing of people who work in the image making industry that allows people to add themselves. It's still relatively curated. I keep an eye and make sure that everybody is professional. But that particular directory has, again, been a really big resource for me and some of my other clients, because the idea is that you can find independent freelance partners as needed. If Forest Park is interested in doing something like that, with my experience with everything from figuring out what software works best with the website host and kind of figuring out how to reach out to people and get them to add themselves to the directory, I would be more than happy to help with that, because again, that's something that I have experience with and it's something that I really believe in. Do you guys have any questions about that part?
Not at this time, ma'am.
Great. So moving on to the idea of sort of rebranding Forest Park, it's one of the biggest cities in Hamilton County. And I feel like for the most part, it's like every other part of Cincinnati. I had this discussion with the folks at the Cincinnati Regional Chamber a couple years ago, where Cincinnati is sort of in the middle. You know, there's not any real negative sentiment, not really any real positive sentiment. It's just sort of middle ground, which is actually a great opportunity to build what you want to build and ensure that people see your city the way you want them to see it. So, you know, I thought there was an opportunity with Forest Park to create an updated brand that, you know, really helps instill a sense of neighborhood pride. I know how I feel when I roll through and, you know, check out my old house that I grew up in and the elementary school that sadly is no longer there because I'm old and it's been knocked down. But, you know, still, I feel a sense of pride in the community because I have so many memories there. And I think there's an opportunity to continue that sort of thought process with the people who are currently there, both residential and business. And one of the things that I've discovered in my years of marketing experience is that image is really important. Obviously, you know, having great resources and knowing what you're doing and having a really welcoming community, all those things are super important as well. But in order for people to pay attention to that, they got to like your brand. So the brand also kind of serves as a way to gain attention, to recruit residents, businesses, developers, anybody else that would support economic development in Forest Park. And just sort of a way to make sure that everything is operating cohesively. So when you're talking about the city, when you're talking about the opportunities, everybody is sort of speaking from the same set of bullet points so that everything is very consistent. So one of the things that I typically like to do is conduct the research. You know, I always start with research. That's how I was brought up. And figuring out a clear brand strategy for the city of Forest Park, because there's an opportunity there, I think, with our sort of neutral starting point to really drill down and figure out how we want people to perceive the city based on all of the different assets and opportunities and resources that are available. And, you know, because it's the third largest city in Hamilton County, which I did not realize, honestly, until I did a little bit of research. But it makes sense given the spread of the city. The idea that it should be one of the top players in the region, I mean, that just makes sense given the size.
Which is the second largest city?
Blue Ash.
Blue Ash?
No,
No,
actually,
Norwood.
Norwood
Norwood.
in terms of
Is
population.
Norwood?
Mhm.
Norwood second.
Okay.
Mm.
Thank you.
So the idea is to sort of get to know the business and residential community first. So that would include a kickoff meeting with whoever's part of the core team and, you know, conducting research to really figure out how people currently see the city. Again, I feel like we're kind of at a neutral position, which is good because that can lay the foundation of how we want to be perceived moving forward. And then from there, we perform sort of a checkup that takes a closer look at the position in the region overall. And the idea is to create sort of an updated, almost like a company profile, like you would see if you were looking to invest in a stock market company that pretty much outlines all the key messaging and helps everybody, again, clearly communicate the city's vision, the city's goals, the city's resources to anybody that it needs to be communicated to. So oftentimes, typically this is the media is the first stop there, but then also interested businesses, residents, general public, anybody who would be interested in learning more about Forest Park, or anybody who you would be interested in sharing information with. And then, you know, we would take a look at what currently exists. So any sort of visual branding, messaging, website, social media, any properties that people could find via Google search for the most part. So if you're looking for information on where to open a new business within the Cincinnati area, that would be something that we would look at. Who comes up then and audit kind of what's working and what's not, kind of how people are interacting with some of those assets, how they're interacting with the website, with any social media assets. And then using that information, figuring out how to move forward to develop a strategy and high-level brand overview, which would include recommendations for implementing all the key assets. So the messaging, any sort of visuals, whether that's the actual logo brand, photography, video, that sort of thing. And then including all of the data and files that I usually distill into sort of a toolkit for people to use. Typically, people will share that amongst their members. And then the other thing that I typically recommend is to have sort of a media kit. So any sort of imagery, high-res photos, anything that would be used in any sort of media reporting, that would be included in the toolkit as well, just so there's like a one-stop link that you could send to any press or media outlets. And that sort of helps create a clear direction for talking to people about Forest Park and what people should expect when they visit or open a business or move in or start a new development or whatever the ultimate goals are. It's typically about a 10-week process from start to finish. Obviously, that depends on, response time and figuring out who's all involved and making sure that everybody is on the same page. But it's a relatively fun process, in my opinion. I, again, like research and design and branding. So for me, it's fun. And I try to make it fun because who wants to work on a boring project? But if you have any questions about what we've talked about up till now, please let me know and we will take it from there.
I have a question actually for Paul. Paul, I know that Don's has considered city marketing. Is this proposal focused primarily on economic development marketing? And how does this fit into his plan?
This is focused primarily on economic development marketing, and we would be coordinating with the city manager on his efforts, whatever he decides to do. I think he's got some more comprehensive planning community-wide. Ours would be focusing on the economic development division in particular.
Right, okay.
Do you guys have any particular goals that you're looking to meet when it comes to economic development?
Well, I think there are a couple of goals. One is we've got some areas, strip malls and so forth, that have vacancies, like Promenade Shopping Center. And our goal would be attract businesses in to fill in those vacancies so that we have additional income tax capability, real estate tax capabilities and so forth, and have some more people promote their own business within Forest Park itself. So that's one of the goals, is filling those vacancies.
Quick question. Do you guys have any particular types of businesses you're looking to fill those vacancies? So for instance, when I work with 3CDC, they were super particular about the types of businesses they wanted to attract to OTR in downtown.
We have had. Paul, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, we do. Tamia, we actually have identified industry clusters that we're trying to attract. That focuses primarily on, in terms of the office environment, medical services. We feel the community is dramatically underserved in terms of medical. So we're looking at medical services, physician groups, testing facilities, ambulatory care facilities, those types of elements to move in. We're also looking at technology. We have a small technology cluster that's located in the Kemper Meadow Business Center. We have a small cluster of software development companies led by Sigmatech, Zontech, and ATR, are all in Kemper Meadow, but we'd like to build upon that segment.
Yeah.
We have an engineering segment with geotechnology, environmental quality, and we'd like to expand upon that engineering segment. Obviously, we've got a financial services segment and insurance that's anchored by Emeritus over at Caroline Business Park. Liberty Mutual is joining that cluster this year, so we'd like to expand upon that. Then we actually have a manufacturing corridor over on Northland, where we have specialty drill manufacturing. So that's aerospace, automotive, defense, those types of industries. So for a small community, we actually have kind of a broad range of services, but we took a look at those clusters that we already have established and how we can strengthen them. I mean, everybody says the same thing, but we took a look at what we actually have in place and how we can build upon that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like tends to attract like.
Yes.
In addition to what Paul has mentioned and Ed and what Diane talked about, I think for me, not only as a economic commissioner for Forest Park, but I'm also a mom and I have a family. And so with the new schools that are being built, you know, an opportunity really to promote that and I guess in some respect capitalize off of that, wanting to make it attractive to other families.
Yeah.
For residential, getting people excited about the community that they live in, and just really being able to brand it and market it in a way that is going to be beneficial for our residents and businesses. You know, when you think about families, you think about the kids, you think about schools, and that's just one of the number one things that people that I hear anyway talk about.
Yeah.
What are the schools
What are the
like?
schools like? Yep.
And, you know, in all honesty, our school district isn't struggling any more than any other school district, Princeton or whatnot. So I think that's just something to really consider when we're talking about the marketing and the branding of Forest Park and what it means.
And to me, one more thing is you asked what type of businesses we're hoping to attract. Paul mentioned the industrials, the medicals, the technology. Chelsea has been pretty much involved with trying to attract minority-owned businesses to Forest Park, and we've taken that endeavor on since the fall to try to promote that. Last, that's almost a year ago, Chelsea at the Chamber of Commerce Wood High School job fair, she had a table up there soliciting minority-owned businesses. So we're pretty broad scoped as far as what type of businesses we're trying to attract into Forest Park.
Okay, that makes sense. Are there any programs that are in place specifically to attract minority-owned businesses at this point?
Any what, ma'am?
Any specific programs that are in place?
Not necessarily, but that's what we're working on.
Okay.
And so we can give that to you as it unfolds and evolves. But I had a point, I forgot it. I'm sorry. I'm
Oh, no,
Jeez.
I was just thinking about that because I've done some work with Mortar as well.
Yeah, we have, they're our partner for the Minority Business Initiative. And
Okay.
so they do work closely with them.
Excuse me.
So that'll
Right.
end up being a draw.
Yes, for sure.
Mhm.
Did you guys
I
have
had
any
a
other?
question.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead, Ron.
are there measurable goals that we should expect as a result of your program, this 10-week period? After 3 weeks, the expectation is we should see blank. We're going to see this after 3 to 5. And then are there goals that you're going to present so that we can actually, for lack of a better word, just sort of measure to see where we are, the impact it's having, and what the desired outcome is going to be? When I say outcome, not exactly, but as a result of this, we're going to now have bang.
Yeah, so I would say the specific deliverable for me is the overall strategy with the assets and the recommendations for implementation, as well as the data in the files. Now, in order to create that, that's what I would need from you guys in terms of your goals. So are you hoping to attract, I don't know, 10 new businesses to the area by December 31st of 2021? And that's what we would focus that information on creating a package that relates to that. That idea is that the package would help make those goals happen.
Paul, would it be appropriate to target filling some of the areas that we've got marketers trying to market? that-
would. It would. I think probably what we need to do is, I think that the project that Tamia is promoting is something, it's a tool to help us achieve some of the goals and objectives that we've identified in our program of work for the upcoming year. We're actually going to talk a little bit about that more later. But I think that's what we would be looking to do, is take those goals and objectives that we've identified. So, some of the specific ones for this upcoming year: marketing the city-owned property, redeveloping the underperforming retail space, doing those types of things. And I think it'd be giving those to Mia and then using her plan to help us accomplish those objectives.
Right.
So I don't think it's that. I think we're pretty far along in terms of where we want to go with a program of work. This is a tool to help us accomplish that program of work.
Yeah, this will give us the strategy and kind of knit all of those things together that we've been wanting for the city. We want to be known for something. We want to be synonymous with something, and let people know that this isn't truly a place you can, work, play, and spend time. So it's really going to end up being a very targeted, specific strategy for us. And then how we go about, implementing that, I think a lot of other players will end up, coming to the forefront to help assist with that, like Ready and other places.
And Paul, you mentioned a program of work. Is that something that's been documented?
It is. It's part of our annual report that we do.
Okay.
And I could share that with you for the department. Because again, this piece that we're talking about is kind of a very specific piece related to that economic development program of work. There's actually more of a community-wide initiative.
Okay.
And some of your work may feed into that, but that's another area, and I think that's part of City Council's strategic planning with the city manager that they're working on. But this is something very specific to us that we're looking at in terms of that piece of it. That's why we're targeting kind of that business attraction, business retention, property redevelopment, community marketing, that piece of it.
Okay, got it.
Tina, do you have any additional slides or information to present?
That's all I have for now.
All right, Tamia. Anybody have any additional questions for Tamia?
Is this something that is going to actually happen, or this is theoretically she's introducing this concept to us?
Rob, we're going to take a look. We're going to take a look at the proposal, and I think it's something I need to share with the city manager. And I've explained it to Mia. Typically, and as councilors Herbie and Clark know, typically whenever we go out for any type of a program like this, where we may spend some money, even if we don't have to go out for solicit proposals, typically we have in the past, and Tamia knows that. So we may actually have, another vendor or two come in and present to us. But I envision that this is something that once we kind of work our way through the first quarter, maybe by the end of first quarter, we can make a decision and move forward. I think what impressed me about Tamia's proposal was, one, kind of her knowledge of the community, having been born and raised here, and her family and her connections here. We always kind of look for that, honestly, because I think it gives us, a better understanding. That person has a better understanding of where we're coming from, and the good and the bad. Tamia mentioned it. We're kind of in that. We've talked about it. We're kind of in that stuck in neutral phase, and I don't think that's only our external image. I think that's our internal image as well.
That's
So
all of Cincinnati, just FYI, not just you guys.
I think we have some work to do.
Paul, do you see this as sort of coordinating? We've got a lot of different moving parts going on right now. One of them would be something like this that fits in with some of our goals of attracting the kind of businesses you're talking about. Another piece is the marketing that we have going on for the city-owned properties. Another piece is Chelsea's initiative for minority recruitment. Would you be envisioning something that Tamia or someone like her would be doing, would be to also kind of coordinate those different pieces?
I think that's part of it, but I think it's more taking a look again at how, we've got kind of this established program of work for the upcoming year, how we can utilize Tamia's expertise to actually go out and communicate this and kind of bring some of the principles together. We've engaged some professionals, like we have a real estate team working on the real estate piece. And we have somebody working on the redevelopment piece with our partnerships with HCDC and Ready. So I think we can create the wheel, but it's more on how we can bring all of these elements together under one umbrella and communicate that out to, prospects that are considering doing business here.
I think that, when Tamia had started her talk, she did say that there would be a group that she'd be working with. So am I assuming correctly that some of us would be included in some of those discussions initially, so that as you design this makeup, you'll inevitably have to use pieces of the minority business stuff, and of course that our community is intrinsically, minority, has a lot of representation.
Very diverse.
Right, but diverse. You guys, I am not bad. I still can't, I swear to goodness, I still can't talk the way I want to. I'm not quite there yet. So thank you for your patience, but that was my point.
Okay. Tamia, does Paul have your email address?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because if we can, I don't know if he shared with you all of maybe you're on the distribution list with the rest of us commissioners, but I'm wondering if you could share that presentation with us through an email.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay. So
whatever's easiest for you guys.
Yeah, I would like.
We already have it. We already have it.
Yeah, I can resend it out. I had sent it out.
It was sent out. It was sent out.
Okay, I don't recall it. Maybe we do have it in the past October, November, September timeframe. I just don't recall it. Okay. If there's nothing else or no other questions, I suggest we move on.
That was a great presentation.
Yes, thank you very much, Tamia.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
I'll get out of you guys' hair now in case you have any private stuff to discuss.
Well, you said you had an 8 o'clock Zoom. You're welcome to stay up to 8, but you may want to prepare.
So private, it's being broadcast on TV.
Well, it's my night to clean the kitchen, so I better get to work real quick.
Oh, pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for coming to join us.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, Tamia. Stay healthy.
You too.
Okay, let's move on with the agenda. We deferred the chairman's report. I'm going to make my report at the end and give the council liaison a chance to report on something. And if you want to save that COVID discussion along with mine till the end, Diane, I think that would work well.
Yeah, because I will piggyback on you. In terms of council, what's basically going, there's not a lot going on right now, pretty routine, but the mayor has been in touch with me on this COVID information, so I have information on that to piggyback on you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other liaison report? Diane?
No, not at this time.
Okay, the director's report, Paul, take her away.
In light of that, I know we've got some other discussion to go on. I submitted a written report to you. If you have any questions on those projects, let me know. We did highlight, a couple of projects that I think are important. And one there is Mr. Minor's agreement to come and bring another La Rosa's operation to Forest Park. He is going to be buying and renovating a building on Hamilton Avenue at Civic Center Plaza and bringing another delivery carryout operation to that location. For those of you who are familiar with the building, this is the old car title loan building. That was a real lovely addition that we were happy to see go away. We're absolutely thrilled to have La Rosa's and Mr. Miners bringing his team up here to that location. So that's a great project. And Eddie, we want to thank you for your investment and ongoing commitment in the community. And remember to tell your dad that we helped you out.
You know, I will. I'll enjoy every second of that.
Eddie, is this in addition to your kitchen dining area on Hamilton at Seven Hills?
So the Seven Hills location is we're moving that one to
Oh.
Forest Park, to that building. So we're moving from the township down to that building. It's now being broadcast, but yeah, no, that's the plan. And so Forest Park, we were talking about the size of the city, third largest city, but the only municipality other than the city of Cincinnati to have two La Rosas in it. So you got there's a little feather for our cap.
Good.
The only other thing I wanted to bring up in my report was that we have continued to work on the Promenade Shopping Center redevelopment proposal. As a matter of fact, we were invited to be a finalist for that state grant program that we had discussed earlier in the year, or at the end of last year. The Vibrant Communities Grant Program that helps communities such as ours redevelop and reposition underperforming retail properties as mixed use or some other more productive use property. We had entered into a partnership with a local developer. King Coffee is a part of that project, you might recall. Those projects are moving forward. The good news is that we were invited to be a finalist for that Vibrant Communities Grant Program. We actually made the presentation today to state officials. So we're hopeful if we're able to secure those grant dollars, what that would lead to is the establishment of a minority business development center as a part of this project. We would partner with HCDC and they would link us to all of their partners in the Minority Business Collaborative. So that includes Mortar, includes the Great African American Chamber of Commerce, includes a number of other organizations. And that would help us bring programming and existing business services that they provide to the businesses and entrepreneurs located in this Northwest corridor. So would be an outstanding resource for us. This would lead also to a redevelopment of Promenade Shopping Center. The total project investment could range anywhere from $4 to $5 million. And we're very excited about this project. Now I don't want to mislead you. We don't have the grant yet, but we are a finalist for that program. And our hope is that we'll be able to secure those dollars and move forward with a complete and comprehensive redevelopment of Promenade Shopping Center.
Okay. Unfinished business, Paul?
The Minority Business Assistance Initiative, Chelsea, I don't know if Councilor Clark had anything to add on that. I think she gave kind of an update, but I didn't know, Chelsea, if you had another update you wanted to provide on the Minority Business Initiative. And I don't know if you heard about the potential to establish that Minority Business Development Center as part of.
I heard you. I was just
Good.
right here. I had to get some kids together, but I'm right here.
Good.
That's exciting though. Thank you, Paul. And I'm excited about that.
The other thing is you had mentioned your work with Mortar, and I just wanted to confirm that because of Councilor Clark's efforts, we are going to be opening discussions with Mortar on bringing that training program out to the city of Forest Park. That's very doable. We're having some discussions now on how the program would be funded. We did have some dollars allocated in the city budget for that. We are going to have to come up with some outside dollars on top of that, but it's something I think we can accomplish. But we are moving forward. They did contact us, Chelsea, and we're moving forward with that initiative.
Okay, that's excellent. For those of you that don't know, I mean, Mortar, I know we'll have a lot more time to discuss it and why it's so beneficial, but even as a graduate, I graduated in 2017, Mortar Class 13 Trailblazers. And even still, I was just asked to apply to the Elevate Equity Accelerator through Flywheel. Eddie, you're probably familiar with Flywheel, the Social Impact Accelerator. It's wonderful.
How's that
So
one?
to kind of frame it for you, in the fall of 2025, companies in Cincinnati were in this accelerator. The amount of investment all 5 of those companies received totaled $400,000. So Mortar is extremely helpful when you're talking about, you know, being in front of the right people at the right time and making sure that, I mean, these entrepreneurs are already great. They're going to get there, but to have this boost, it really sets you up. I've had, you know, TV interviews. 2 of the TV interviews I had last year were because of Mortar, because they go there as a hub and say, hey, who in your organization is working? Who can we highlight? So it's been phenomenal. So I'm really excited that they're extending their reach out here. In terms of just an update, I will be the first to admit this December has been a hot mess for me. December and January. I have struggled and done the best I can. And I hope that you guys have grace for me. Charge it to, my head, not my heart. So I have fallen off, and I have a lot of plates that are around my feet that are shattered. So what I had to do was say, okay, how can I regroup and try to make sure that I can pick up the pieces, but still have be effective. So I think the way to do that is by doing we got Black History Month coming up. Let's do a Black History Spotlight, Black History Month business spotlight. And we actually ask the community to nominate that Black-owned business. And that way it's kind of not really on our shoulders, so to speak. And then, we present them with a certificate, maybe feature them on our website. And so we can talk about what that, reward, so to speak, will be. But we can have a small, just a small virtual event for that and talk about their, work in the community, et cetera. And then I'm looking at March 15th, having a virtual event titled March into More Money. And I'm hoping that maybe, I know, right? I love whatever you call those words. And so Jerome Belcher, I think I had mentioned him. He is game for putting that on. He has actually helped myself with my business credit, building the business credit. And so what are we going to do now that the PP funds have now, these companies are going to get them? How do you make sure that in the first quarter, that you can kind of set yourself up for what the rest of the year is going to be? And we could perhaps do that. And then we could look at having something in May, maybe something that's kind of going to feed into our summer, because in where we are, we're going to still have a challenge when it comes to children and childcare and families that are in between office and at home. And so perhaps we can be a resource for our city to talk about. These are organizations that can help and provide different types of assistance and fun time and stuff, kind of like your summer planning guide for how to enjoy businesses, how to work, how to play. What I'm thinking. That's all I got.
Okay. Any questions from anyone for Chelsea? No? Did you have anything else, Chelsea?
No, I will, I do plan on having a meeting with Paul, and I will this is all typed up. And so I'll share that with him and we can kind of delve through more of the logistics. The biggest thing I think the problem is just not setting a date. So I've got to set the date so that everything else can fill in. Would be a better course of action.
All right. Then Paul, the Economic Development 2021 priorities, I think we touched on all of those the last meeting, and then you presented this agenda paper, the report that we have tonight to the city manager. Did you want to go over any of those in addition?
I think the only purpose of it for tonight, Ed, was if anyone, it was not so much to have me kind of rehash where we are in the program of work, but rather to get input from each of the commissioners if there's an item or two that they would like to see included or emphasized through the upcoming year that we can try to incorporate into our program of work for the rest of the year. I can tell you that we are, keep in mind, we've got a one-person department. So, we're swimming upstream most of the time, but I think if there are objectives that you'd like to see us, something specific or something related to one of these objectives that we've listed, please share that with us so that we can incorporate your thoughts into our ongoing effort.
Are you talking about the, excuse me, the unfinished business, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
I have what is I was trying to research, and I guess I'm not very good at it. But I was trying to research this situation with the mall and trying to, what ended up happening. I know that we hit them with a whole lot of, they were in violations, safety violations all over the place at that. It was over there that Don had shared with council, right, Diana? And so I don't know what's the status on that, and at what point can you can't like take it over as government property and say you want to use it for public use? Can't eminent domain it? Is it private? Like what is the next step to try to make him force the sale of it?
What we've been trying to do lately, Chelsea, is trying to go around to some of the developers that we know and real estate teams, primarily because it is privately owned. And you might remember part of the issue that we have is when we did the original development on redevelopment of the mall with Mills, we did an $18 million tax increment financing district to do some of the TIF improvements around the property. What happens is, if he's paying the assessments on those TIFs, which he is doing, it makes it next to impossible to actually like land bank the property, acquire it by eminent domain. Because if we do that, the bonds that were issued, those bonds were issued by the Port Authority of Cincinnati, not by the city. But if we do that, the bondholders on that paper are gonna basically demand payment because he's making his payments. So if you go to acquire it or force, eminent domain or do something like that, the bondholders are going to be like, that's fine, but if you have the property, you owe us that money now.
right.
So
It's
you're
only
probably
18
looking.
years?
No, it was $18
I'm sorry.
million.
Okay.
Was the original paper
So
amount.
do we know how? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. So the bond payments, the assessments actually cover the bond debt each year.
But how
So
much
he's
is
paying
remaining
those.
on the debt I guess that's my question.
Probably, I think there's around 12 to 13 million is the last thing I heard remaining on the debt. You have to remember there's interest payments there too. So it's like any other loan, you're paying interest up front.
One other thing you have to understand, you cannot enact eminent domain in order to then turn around and commercially develop it. That was decided with that Rookwood area.
Right.
So you can't do that.
So the good news is there are developers that are interested in the property, but really it's going to take a decision. And you might remember we have basically, it's owned by a limited liability corporation, but it's a single owner. And he's not easy to deal with. But at the same time, I think that there is an opportunity, especially in light of what's going on now. We may have an opportunity to finally pursue a sale of the property to someone that we would feel comfortable working with on its redevelopment. It is not going to be an inexpensive proposition. You might remember his asking price for the property was around $50 million. We understand he's come off of that asking price, but let's just say it's half of that. That's before you drop one shovel or do anything to redevelop, renovate, demolish, do anything with the property. We did a study, you might remember, with the Port Authority about 5 years ago, and we estimated that redevelopment of that property could range anywhere from, with acquisition, demolition, renovation, new construction, you're probably looking at anywhere between $50 and $75 million. If you think back to the original mall redevelopment, Mills probably spent about $100 million on the property. So, that's where we're heading. Obviously, we'd like to move more quickly on it because honestly, I think there's a race here. Northgate, Tri-County Mall, ours, we're no longer the only struggling mall in town. And I think that we need to try to pursue an effort to get this in the hands of somebody who can redevelop it. It is a priority for us this year. And we are actively, and I mean actively, going out and trying to find a partner, just like we did on Promenade. Find somebody that we know and trust who can help us redevelop that 90-acre site.
That's a really good point you just made that I didn't even consider, that Northland, even Northgate, even though they've got that redevelopment, now they're struggling with their internal portions of their mall. And then you've got Tri-County just, I believe the owners just want it to go to put. And so you're almost, so it would do this owner well to consider that, if someone wants to buy it, or they have almost
right,
at least certainly two options.
I think this is the redevelopment of underperforming retail property with the mall as the key piece is probably the top priority of our program of work. For a community such as ours, we're 6 square miles. We have probably, and Eddie and I have talked about this, I'm always bad when I take figures off the top of my head, but we probably have 3 million square feet of retail space in this community. The mall alone is 1.6. That's in 6 square miles. In 2021, there's just not a need for that kind of space anymore. Retail's changing. I'm not one of these people that think bricks and mortar stores are going to go away, but this is going to be a changing retail environment over the next 10 years. And the mall is going to ultimately become something other than a mall. We all know this.
Yeah. All right, the last item is new business community marketing proposal. I think we probably pretty much covered that with Ms. Stinson and yourself, right?
Yes.
I think we'll go to mine and Councilwoman Herbie's liaison reports. I was going to report on 3 things at the outset. Next month will be 1 year since we started the research regarding the job fair. And we got into that in February. And we started actually around November, December. But then we found out that Wynwoods High School was having their job fair, and we partnered up with them. So this coming month, I'm going to call them and find out. I think their job fair was in late February, March last year. So I'm going to call them and ask them where they are in their planning of it because of COVID. And can we jump in and, get involved in that again? Are they even going to have a job fair because of COVID?
My guess is if they do it it'll probably be moved back to the fall if they do it at all this year.
That might be.
But if you want to reach out to them, that's fine. But I can tell you, we're not doing any kind of public events at all until at least the fall.
Yeah. The next thing I wanted to talk about is minor, and you folks may have seen it, but since Mr. Booth isn't here tonight to report, I drove by last week and the McDonald's on Northland is gone. It's been torn down, bulldozed. It's a flat piece of land as of yesterday. So I just thought I'd report that. I had heard rumors for a long time that they were going to close, but I mean, it came as a big surprise when I drove up there and it was gone.
Are they
They won't have any
rebuilding
other-
or that is it?
Say what, sir?
That it's not going to be rebuilt, it is simply gone?
To my knowledge, Paul, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I had a conversation with Paul Booth about it, and it was as much a corporate decision by McDonald's corporate as it was theirs. But it is not coming back. Now, the good news is, unlike a lot of businesses, at least McDonald's does tear down the building and prep the site for future development, which I will give McDonald's credit, because as we all know, a lot of places just leave the shell of a building there and it looks like you have an old whatever standing there and somebody puts paint on it and it never looks good. And
Yeah.
so, but this is going to be part, we talk about property redevelopment, that Northland corridor, how we redevelop it, how we work with owners like Eddie, how we work with the existing property shopping center owner, and how we incorporate all that with the $10 million library project that's coming in a couple of years. We have an opportunity there, but we do need to take a look at that entire Northland corridor from Sharon Road up Waycross to Northland and down, and figure out how we're going to reposition this area for the next 20 or 30 years. This gives us a slate to work with, but we are, and to give you an idea, pardon me, we have entered into we've entered into a discussion with the owners of Northland Tower to discuss options for its redevelopment. I think that's going to be a key piece, because quite honestly, and Eddie and I have had this conversation, part of the issues with Northland evolved when we lost our daytime population there. If you remember back in the day, Northland had 3 different office buildings. We had the office tower. We had certified restoration on the corner. We probably had 700 to 1,000 daytime employees working in that corridor, and that's gone. So we need to try to figure out how we're going to rebuild that daytime population and rebuild that Northland corridor. I think it's going to be a combination of mixed use. It's probably going to involve some new residential. We've been talking to some residential partners about the potential to do some single family residential in that area, try to build up the area. We've been talking to medical services. We've been talking to senior living. We've been talking to a number of things. I think all of that can be a part of this solution, but we don't want to shotgun this. We want to come up with a comprehensive plan for the redevelopment of Northland Boulevard. And that's going to involve a number of different things, but we've got people there that we can work with. Disappointed to see the McDonald's decision, but one of the things Paul pointed out, and Eddie pointed it out earlier, Forest Park is 6 square miles. We had 3 McDonald's. We've got 3 McDonald's. We've got 3 grocery stores. We have 2 La Rosas now, 2 Frisch's. We're going to see some movement. The other thing that is going to affect us, and Chelsea brought this up earlier, we are going to see some movement as this PPP money runs out. We may indeed see some closures. We're trying to help people as much as we can and find out if there's anyone out there in trouble. But as that money begins to run out, and if we haven't gotten past this pandemic completely, it's quite possible we may see some business closures. You've already started to see it in other communities. I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised we haven't seen more of it here, but that could be coming, and we have to be prepared for it. We have to be prepared on one side of the equation to try to help those businesses if we can to keep them and sustain them. We also have to be prepared for the idea that if there's businesses that do go out, we have to be prepared for the redevelopment of those properties and making sure that we bring in suitable replacements, things that we want to see in the community. We don't need another dollar store. We don't need another check cashing place.
Yeah.
We want to find things that complement what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Okay, the last item I had was a report on COVID. We have 2 commissioners who have experienced that illness. And my daughter, who works downtown every day and interacts with a number of people, retailers and tenants of the Cincinnati Mercantile Building downtown. She manages that building. So interacting with all those people, she contracted somehow COVID. And we all know Chelsea had it. Last meeting, I said that Ron Johnson was ill. I didn't feel right letting everybody know what his illness was. So Ron, if you want to elaborate on that, you can.
Oh, I got that COVID. It wiped me out for about 3 weeks. So it was not fun at all. It was most miserable. And they come to tell you, once you went to the hospital, they said there really is no treatment for virus. Until you can't breathe, we can't treat you. I'm like, oh, $600 later, you could have saved me that. But I am grateful to still really, I say sincerely, I'm grateful to actually still be around. I tell you, is like that feeling of suffocating or in a swimming pool, just sort of going up and down. My wife had it, my son had it, my daughter had it, my nephew had it. Just bad bug. And I think I got it. I did something stupid. I went to a funeral and I actually stayed. I don't know what I was thinking. And it was a 2-hour service. And I came home and infected my whole family. So I'm like, oh, that won't happen again. So I know they say that the mask help, but I had the mask on that whole service. But when I say somebody at that place who was I didn't see anybody sick or coughing. Somebody was asymptomatic and affected, including my family. There were probably about 10 other people at that service that came down with it. So it was, whew.
Now, my daughter had it the same weeks that you had it, and she had 3 weeks of bad time.
Yeah.
Still today, which is 2 months later, I think, she still has what they call COVID fatigue. Do you still have that?
Yep.
How about you, Chelsea? You just got over yours, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to take a nap today like a little baby. I took a 2-hour nap and you just kind of like fall out. And then it's the strangest thing. I can't control it. It's frustrating.
We're certainly glad that both of you have recovered and are, on the road to normal health. The other thing I wanted to talk about in regard to it was I have 2 avenues available to me. Try Health, where my doctors are. My family doctor and nurse received the COVID vaccine. I said the name before, Moderna, I want to say. Am I saying that right, Diane? Moderna, right?
Moderna. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They each received it on December 28th. No ill effects whatsoever. And they're going to get their second shot next week. And if you go to the Try Health website, Diane and I are both on that. Right on the first page, it tells you COVID update, and they're vaccinating 80 and up this week. I'm sorry, maybe 85 and up. I forget now. And then 80 and up. And then I think I'm due the first week in February, 75 and up. So the other avenue is the teachers, ASUP, which is the substitute teachers in Hamilton County. They sent us a survey out and said, do you want to receive the vaccine when we receive it. But the problems with all this, except for TriHealth, is that nobody knows when they're going to receive it. So we're on a wait and see. And Diane wanted to piggyback on mine
Yeah.
and give a report. Go ahead, Diane.
If you have been watching the news the last couple of days, the supply of vaccine is being ramped up under Biden's COVID task force. So it will be flowing, but how soon it gets out is a question. Part of the problem has been delivery. Delivery is handled state by state. So DeWine initially said that the COVID vaccine would go first to first responders and to people in nursing homes. This week is 80 and above. Next week is 75 and above. And the week after that is, 75 and above. And the week after that is 70 and above, theoretically. Also, what they are trying to do at the same time is try to get the vaccine into the arms of teachers. Now, last week, and then this filters down from the state to the counties. So this is being handled in the county by the Hamilton County Public Health Department. You can go on their website now, regardless of whatever your age is. I think it's 16 and above. And you can sign up to get the vaccine. They will contact you when the vaccine is available for your age group. I've already done that. It's a very simple process. Go online, Hamilton County Public Health. You'll find out COVID is all over the website. You can go to the COVID link and you can sign up to get the vaccine. And they will notify you when your group comes up. The question is whether when it comes up, they will have the vaccine available. Now, last week, through the Public Health Department, the Senior Center in Forest Park was a site for vaccine distribution on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Now, the mayor thought that it was going to be continuing, and he went over there yesterday or today, and they weren't doing it. So he contacted the Public Health Department and wondered, well, first of all, I think he went up and he talked with the fire chief. But he also talked with the Department of Health leader, Mr. Kessler, and said, we would like to offer you the opportunity to do it at our senior center. And the guy said, well, one of our concerns is it may not be large enough, because if these vaccines start rolling out, we'll need space for people to wait for 15 minutes. So Chuck said, look, between now and when the school moves at spring break time to the new facility, their old facility will still be available. And he wants to talk with the school department people about possibly using that once spring break comes. So he's working on trying to get a facility here in Forest Park to cover the north side of Cincinnati, or the north side of Hamilton County. That may be an ongoing thing, we'll have to see. But when the vaccines are available, that's hopefully we will have an opportunity here. The other thing I know is this. As Ed said, I'm a part of TriHealth. TriHealth has a MyChart website that covers TriHealth facilities. You can go to MyChart and you can also sign up there and hopefully get your vaccine through your TriHealth providers. So that is another option. So there's a possibility we might see something out here. There is a TriHealth possibility also if you're connected with TriHealth.
Thank you, Diane. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding the vaccine?
We received an email, Job and Family Services, we received an email because a lot of us go out in the field, and I've still been going in the office relatively maybe 2 to 3 days a week. So they put us on the list for the 1B, which I'm assuming is going to be the next group of people that are going to be getting the vaccine. There have been some social workers that have already gotten it, but I think because they work for a hospital also, they were able to get it as well. But we're just kind of waiting. You know, I've been fortunate enough. No one in the home has contracted COVID. I do have an 82-year-old mother-in-law here who somebody just told her that her brother died of COVID. So that's why she came down here to be consoled. And I was like, oh my God, I'm on camera. So I'm gonna take care of her in a little bit, but it's just really scary. And I thought, Chelsea, you caught it. Well, we'll talk off camera, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just wanting to, serve the public and working with people, and we're wearing our mask and things like that. But, we do fingerprints and some other stuff, and it's just that close to people to have to, it's just really scared. I don't know, like you were saying, I don't know that there's any personal protection equipment, enough of that you can wear, to keep you from contracting COVID. I just don't. I don't know. It ails me every time I hear about it. It was probably a non-relative comment, but I just felt the need to share because I'm feeling a little overwhelmed here with it.
Two other things. One is Dr. Fauci says continue to mask up.
Yeah.
Two masks are good. A K95 would be good with a cloth mask over top of it. It helps to create a better seal. The other thing is there was a problem of the vaccines, because originally they were being very strict about having the vaccines only for the people who were qualified at the time. And so once you open the vial, you've got to use these things up. And so they were throwing things away because they'd open it and there wouldn't be people coming in. I think they have loosened that so that if you open a vial and you are distributing it to a certain group and they're not showing up, you can go out on the street and pull people in.
Yep.
And I know that that's what they did last week. They were trying to get it to first responders, and I know that 80-year-old age group, they were try to get it to it first, but they had about 4 to 6 doses left, and they went and contacted people in the police department and the tax department to bring them in and to get them. So hopefully they're not wasting hopefully the governor has eased that up some so that we're not wasting doses.
Right.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yes, ma'am. I thought someone called my name. Okay. Anyone else have any additional questions or discussion they want to bring up? Eddie, you have anything? You didn't have much to say tonight. You're usually pretty contributive.
Man, a few words this evening.
Okay, very good. Well, if there is nothing else, Paul, I think we should adjourn.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, thank you all for attending. Everybody stay healthy, and we'll see you in a month from now at our next meeting.